Hey now, welcome back Pokemon trainers. This is your friendly neighborhood Bullados, and today we're at the Klaczynski Open in Tinley Park, Illinois, and we're at the top four between Ross Cawthon and Joe Baka. On your right is Joe Baka, the 2013 Wisconsin State Champion. He's playing what is this? Darkrai Garbodor, and on your left is two-time world's runner-up Ross Cawthon playing Blastoise, Black Kyurem, Keldeo. Uh, just setting up right now. I believe these are going to be 90-minute, best 2 out of 3 rounds. So you're going to get quite your full fill of Pokemon trading card game today. We're just setting things up right now. Looks like Ross has one basic Pokemon, and Joe is still shuffling up. In Pokemon, you start by drawing your opening hand of 7. Check those 7 cards to make sure that you have a basic Pokemon. If you do, you place one of them face down as your active Pokemon, and you can put up to 5, if you have them, onto your bench. In this case, it looks like Joe has 2 basic Pokemon, and now he sets out his 6 prize cards. Now they're going to, looks like, roll a dice, heads or tails, to decide who goes first. And I believe Joe has just gone first. So we have 90 minutes from now until this game ends. Joe is starting with a Sableye and a Trubbish, while Ross is starting with his Black Kyurem EX. What Joe's going to be trying to do in this game is get at least one, if not both, of his Garbodors up with a tool on it, so that he can stop Ross's Blastoise from attaching energies. Joe just played an Ultra Ball, discarding what looks like a Dark Patch and a Juniper. I believe he's going to... If I would be the one playing this, I would be getting his second Trubbish, but I don't know what he's going for. I don't know the way he plays the game. Searching through his deck, trying to see exactly what's in there, and whether or not the second... If it were me, I'd be checking to see whether or not the second Trubbish would even be a possibility. Still searching. Gets a Darkrai. I'm guessing that means that he doesn't have his either his second Trubbish or his second Garbodor. Gonna shuffle through his deck, and I can't see what's in his hand right now, but I'm assuming that since he discarded a Juniper, that means he probably has either a Juniper or an N, and I just saw a Juniper as he shuffled through his deck. He's attaching a Floatstone to his Trubbish, and he plays a Juniper, discarding a Skyla. That Floatstone will activate Garbodor's ability, which shuts off all abilities in play as long as Garbodor has a tool attached to it. So he just drew his 7. Looks like he has another Ultra Ball in his hand, and he's debating playing it. Maybe to get another Darkrai, maybe to get his Trubbish if he just saw his entire deck. He's playing the Ultra Ball, discarding 2 Darkness Energies, which probably means that he has a second Darkness Energy in his hand, a third Darkness Energy, I mean, to attach to that active Sableye. Or at least I would hope that he has another Darkness Energy. Yes, he does. It's that top card in his hand right now. Looks like he's trying to figure out which card in his deck would be the best one to go after. You can do this in Pokemon. You can search your deck and your hand at the same time. You don't have to, once you pick up one, that's the only thing you can look at. You can pick up one and then pick up the other, as long as you don't mix the two. He picks up a Trubbish and places it on his bench so that he can so that he can ensure himself a Garbodor next turn. Now it looks like he's using a Sableye Junk Hunt to get back a Dark Patch and an Ultra Ball. Now it's Ross's turn. Like I said, he's starting with a lone Black Kyurem EX, and we're going to see exactly what he's going to do here. What Blastoise Black Kyurem Keldeo is trying to do is get a Blastoise up and attaching energies to either Black Kyurem or Keldeo so that they can one-hit KO any one of his opponent's Pokemon. He just attached a water energy to his active Black Kyurem and then played a Tropical Beach, which will allow him to end his turn and draw until his hand size is 7. He's looking through his hand, playing an N, so he's trying to dive through his deck to get more cards. Trying to, see what he really wants to end up with. He really wants to end up with 2 Squirtle in play at the end of his turn, or anytime he doesn't have a Blastoise in play, he wants to have 2 Squirtles in play, so that he ensures that the next turn he can evolve to either, well, in this case, he doesn't run any Wartortle, so it's just to evolve into his Blastoise during his next turn. Also, during Pokemon, you are allowed to shuffle or cut your opponent's deck anytime your opponent shuffles his or her own deck. So Joe just shuffled his opponent's deck. Ross looked like he just cut Joe's. And Ross just played down 1 Squirtle and a Keldeo. And he has 4 cards in his hand. He's debating whether or not he wants to use that Tropical Beach. Still looking through Joe's discard pile to see exactly what Joe has. And it looks like he's going to Beach to draw 3 and end his turn. It's now Joe's turn. He draws his card. And the first thing that he's going to do, he's going to play a Dark Patch to attach a Darkness Energy from his discard pile to his benched Darkrai. I see that he has a Garbodor in his hand, and he's debating whether or not he wants to play it, because playing it would shut off his own Darkrai's ability, that grants all of his Pokemon with Dark Energy attached to them free retreat. He's going to, he's debating evolving. Yep, he evolves both Garbodors. Wow, that's a wonderful second turn. Because now Ross really can't get anything going quickly, and Joe just played an N to make sure that to cut Ross's hand size down by 1, and to hopefully draw into some more Dark Patches and another energy to try and get his Darkrai active and attacking something. If he's really lucky, he's going to end up with Pokemon Catcher to try and knock out that Squirtle that's bench. The lone Squirtle, which is a gigantic target right now. The lone Squirtle is probably the worst way that Ross could have ended his previous turn. So each player will draw 6 cards because that's the number of prizes that each player has. Looks like Joe has 1 basic Darkness Energy, which he's going to attach to his benched Darkrai. And got a Verbank Gym, which replaces that Beach. And also, if Joe were to play anything that gets poisoned gets 2 additional damage counters. Joe's now going to play his Random Receiver to search through his deck and find a supporter card. And he's searching through. Well, it flips over the top card of his deck until he finds a supporter card. He gets a Juniper. Now he shuffles the rest of his cards to his deck. Really what that is setting up his deck and his hand for his next turn. And also getting another card out of his deck. My guess is that the next move that he's going to make is to use Sableye's Junk Hunt to get probably a Dark Patch and maybe the Random Receiver back out of his discard pile. I'd definitely say the Dark Patch, but what else is he going to get? The Dark Patch and the Ultra Ball. And now it's Ross's turn. You draw your card to start every single one of your turns. Now Ross has some decisions to make. He only plays in his deck one Tool Scrapper, but he does, and looking through his list, he plays one Tool Scrapper and 3 catchers. So, now Joe apparently somehow, I didn't catch it. He played second Floatstone onto his Garbodor. So Ross is going to be looking for his one Tool Scrapper, which will get rid of both of those tools. Ross just played a Level Ball, which he's going to use to search through his deck. And the only thing that he can get off of that is another Squirtle, which he's definitely going to bench. Just so that you know, Joe can't get rid of all of his Squirtles at once. Because remember, Garbodor's ability has shut off Squirtle's ability, which protects Squirtle as long as it's on the bench. So Darkrai can still attack Squirtle for 30 damage each turn it attacks. Ross is still trying to resolve that Level Ball, looking for his third of 4 Squirtles. Maybe he hasn't? Or is he just going to... Did he finish that? Did he finish his search? Looks like he finished his search because he's now playing a Colress, which will allow him to shuffle his own hand back into his deck and draw a number of cards equal to the total number of benched Pokemon that both players have. So in this case, that Colress will allow him to draw 6 cards and will hopefully for his case, get him some combination of a rare candy, a Blastoise, a Tool Scrapper, and maybe a Beach so that he can start drawing cards and get those energies onto that Black Kyurem EX that he has active. Right now, neither player has actually done any damage with their attacks, and Ross hasn't attacked, and he probably won't attack this turn either. 4, 5, 6. Well, can't really see what he's got there. Ross is attaching a Water Energy to his active Black Kyurem, and it looks like that's the end of his turn. So Ross is in a very tough position right now. He's staring down 2 Garbodors that are preventing him from using his Blastoise's ability, and now he's got to deal with fully built Darkrai EX that can attack for 90 damage to the active and an additional 30 damage to a bench. But there are also ways that Joe has of increasing that damage. Notice that Burbank City Gym is still in play, and he just played a Hypnotoxic Laser, which automatically poisons the Black Kyurem EX. And then you can flip a coin to see whether or not the defending Pokemon is asleep. Looks like the coin flip was Tails, and now Joe has just played an N, which will allow both players to shuffle their hands into their decks and draw a number of cards equal to their own. Joe, I believe, is looking for a Dark Claw, which will increase Darkrai's attack enough so that he can I believe he'll be able to one-shot that. The Black Kyurem would get knocked out coming back to Joe's turn. So Joe is debating playing a card. I don't know what card it is, unfortunately. He's probably going to retreat at some point into that Darkrai so that he can attack and deal a lot of damage to that active Black Kyurem EX. Now he's retreating the Sableye for 1 because Darkrai's ability, which allows free retreat to all Pokemon with Darkness Energies, is prevented, and now he's using Darkrai's attack, which will do 90 damage to the active Black Kyurem and 30 damage to one of the benched Squirtles. because Squirtle's ability is turned off. But because of the Burbank City Gym and the poison, Black Kyurem is at 120 damage, and now it's Ross's turn, who just drew his card. Ross is desperately trying to find some cards or some combination of cards that will allow him to, get out of this predicament, because he is staring down. Right now, Joe is in a very, very good spot, and Ross really needs to get something going if he wants to have a chance in this game. Ross is going to play an Ultra Ball, which means he has to discard 2 cards from his hand in order to search his deck for any one Pokemon that he would like. He's discarding a Squirtle and a Water Energy, and if I had to take a guess, I'd say he's going to find a Blastoise in there so that he can evolve that Squirtle on the bench that has 30 damage on it already. I'm thinking that he has a rare candy in his hand, but I can't really see the hands that well. So he's asking Joe how many cards are in Joe's hand, which can be a huge, which can tell a player what that player needs to search for. Now he's grabbed, still searching. Ross is still searching for one Pokemon off of that Ultra Ball that he just played. I don't know if he does have that. He does not have a rare candy in his hand, which is why he's searching out that Keldeo, which he will probably use to dance for a few turns with his other Keldeo to prevent that Darkrai from taking a prize. See, actually, he can't even do the dancing because he can't dance because of Garbodor. I always forget about Garbodor. Dirt. Well, there goes there goes a Beach. There goes a Scrapper. Both of those tools are gone, and 7 new cards. So, he just discarded 1 Blastoise, which means he only has 2 left in his deck. If not fewer than that. So, Ross is still trying to search for that one out that would, help turn the game in his favor. And really, getting rid of that Darkrai would be a huge step towards that. Right now, Joe has no attackers and really no way to attack with anything. He's kind of overextended, especially since Ross hit his 1 tool scrapper to get rid of the 2 tools that were on the Garbodors. So now Garbodor's ability no longer works, and Ross can use any abilities that he would like. I believe Ross is trying to play out an Ultra Ball or a Computer Search so that he can find that Blastoise that he's been looking for, and maybe if he's lucky, get to attack and knock out that active Darkrai. So yeah, Ross is. Ross plays especially deliberately for a Pokemon player. He's well known for, taking care of all of his options and carefully weighing them so that, he can maximize every single play that he's making. He's very carefully deciding on the 2 cards that he's going to discard this turn. And it looks like that's a Computer Search. And he's going to discard 2 Water Energies. He's going to find probably a rare candy. I didn't see what he's getting. Because with Computer Search, you get to discard 2 cards from your hand, which lets you search for any 1 card, and you don't have to show that card to your opponent. In fact, it's preferable that you don't. But if you're searching for it, you probably need it immediately. And he looks like he searched for a rare candy to evolve his Blastoise, and he evolved the undamaged one. I did not expect that. Going to Superior Energy Retrieval to get 1, 2, 3. He's going to Superior Energy Retrieval, get 3 energies back from his discard pile, and use Blastoise's Deluge to start piling those onto a Keldeo. But Ross now has no cards left in his hand. So he can either attack for 110 damage, or he can... And it looks like he just attacked for 110 damage. Keldeo's attack does 50 damage plus 20 more damage for each water energy attached to it. It has 3 water energies, so that does 60 more damage and does 110 to the Darkrai. Now, Joe, Pokemon is such a back and forth game. You can be absolutely dominating one turn and just sent to the cleaners the next turn. So Joe is really in such a tight spot at this point in the game. He has an active Darkrai with 110 damage on it, and looks like something's going on with one of the judges. Having a long talk with each of the judges right now. So Joe's starting his turn. He's going to play a Skyla. And I think he's going to try and get the second Darkrai EX out. Either that or he's going for a tool so that he can shut down Blastoise and Keldeo's abilities. And again, just like I said before, shutting down the Blastoise and the Keldeo are such huge things. And I think he might be out of tools. Is he out of tools? He should have 4 float stones in the deck. He's missing a float stone, and looks like he's still completing his search. So what's he gonna grab? I guess it'd be a float stone so that he can get that Garbodor working again and turning off all of his opponent's abilities. But he still has this Darkrai with a lot of damage on it, and his opponent now has a Keldeo with energy on it. So Joe right now really needs to find some way to get something else set up and able to attack going into Ross's next turn. Excuse me. Now, that Darkrai is probably not going to last the next turn, even with that catcher that Joe is holding on to. I'm guessing that if Joe is going to play that catcher, yep, he's catchering up the Blastoise, and he's probably going to knock out the Squirtle that's on his opponent's bench. He's going to Float Stone the Garbodor, which turns Garbodor's ability back on, and he's already used his supporter for the turn, so looks like he's debating how he wants to end his turn. We know he's going to attack. We know he's going to attack for 90 damage to the Blastoise and 30 damage to somewhere on his opponent's bench. But I'm not sure what else he has to do during his turn. Looks like he's still got cards to play. So let's see what Joe manages to pull off here. I'm pretty certain that I saw his Max Potion and another Ultra Ball in his hand. Is going to attack the Blastoise for 90 and the Squirtle to knock it out. Joe just took the first prize card in the game, and once again, Ross is in a position where he really needs to hit something, and boy did he hit something. Top deck for a Juniper. What a top deck. What a top deck. That was incredible. Unfortunately, Ross still needs to hit a lot of different cards if he wants to stand any hope of beating Joe's setup at this point. Ross has already used his 1 tool scrapper, so he'll really need to find some other way to get that Garbodor out of play. Plus, Ross can't use either of his Keldeo's switching abilities, so he can't get that Blastoise out of the active position. Ross benches a Squirtle so that he can eventually later on evolve into another Blastoise once he gets one of those Garbodors out of the way. And he attaches to his Black Kyurem and draws another 2. What he's really trying to find, I believe, is a catcher and a lightning energy. Either a catcher or a lightning energy. One of the two. Really, a catcher is what he needs most right now. A catcher will will knock out that benched Garbodor, and will allow Ross to continue with his own strategy, which revolves entirely around Pokemon abilities. So, Joe just started his turn after Ross used his Beach to draw an additional 2 cards. So Joe is trying to find something that he can use to... he doesn't really need to attack this turn unless he wants to. You know, he could end his turn, and Ross has really no way to get that Blastoise out of the active position. That Blastoise is stuck there. It's got a big bout of 4 retreat cost, and if Joe doesn't want to attack it, he doesn't have to. He can just let it sit there. So, Joe's going to play that Dark Patch to attach a Darkness Energy to his benched Sableye. He got that Dark Patch off of a Skyla, which allows him to search his deck for any trainer card that he would like. Joe then attached another Darkness Energy to his... he benched a Sableye, sorry. Now it looks like he's going to retreat his Darkrai for 2 energies, because Darkrai's ability is turned off, and he's going to send up Sableye to get some cards out of his discard pile. I believe if I'm right, he's going to probably get 2 Dark Patches, so that he can, max Potion to get the damage off of his Darkrai, and then he's going to, I would guess... Ooh, what did he just attach there? That looks like a Life Dew. Does he have a Life Dew in his deck? He has a Life Dew in his deck. Life Dew is a tool that you attach to your Pokemon that when it's knocked out, your opponent takes 1 fewer prize card than he would normally take. Joe's going to use a Sableye's Junk Hunt to get back 2 Dark Patches, which will allow him to reset that benched Darkrai next turn if he wants it. Now it's back to Ross's turn, who's checking out Joe's discard pile to see what's in there that, what information is in there that Ross can use for his own advantage. Ross is just drawing his card right now. And back to the debate. Ross knows that he can't attack this turn. He plays no switches in his deck. And he has no energy in the discard pile. He should still have a few supporters left that he could play, but I'm not sure if he wants to use any of them. He's now going to start attaching water energy to his other Keldeo, so that when his active Blastoise is finally knocked out, he'll have multiple attackers ready to start hitting his opponent's Garbodor or Darkrai when it's ready. So Ross just attach and pass. Joe draws his card, and he's probably going to play those. Yep, there's an energy. There's the 2 Dark Patches to get the 2 energies onto the Darkrai. He's probably going to retreat the Sableye right now. Maybe play a catcher and try and knock out the Black Kyurem. But I'm not sure what's in his hand. It looks like he doesn't have that much in his hand to play. So Joe's waiting to play a card. He has some plan going on. There's something that Joe wants to do right now. And he benches a Darkrai and plays an N, which allows Joe to draw 5 cards, and Ross will draw 6. I think what Joe's trying to do is get that second Darkrai powered up, so that even if his opponent manages to hit an electric energy off of this N, Joe will still have the ability to attack and revenge knockout that Black Kyurem after the revenge knockout that Black Kyurem is probably going to get next turn. Because Ross just drew 6 cards and we haven't seen an electric energy, although he only plays 3 of them, that's a fairly low number. Did Joe just play a Dark Patch? It looks like Joe just played a Dark Patch. I believe that's the third one that's in his discard pile. And that bench Darkrai now has 1 energy attached to it. Now Joe has the choice of whether he wants to attack and put damage onto a benched Pokemon, or if he wants to get some more cards out of his discard pile. And it looks like he's going to junk hunt to get some trainers out of his discard pile. I would guess he's laser and a patch, or laser and a catcher. Plays 4 catcher and 4 laser. We've only seen 1 of each. That means that there's still quite a few of each of them left in his deck. So he's going to try and get probably a couple of knockouts next turn. That active Blastoise still has 90 damage on it. And I believe what Joe's going to try and do is knock out that Black Kyurem during his next turn. While Ross is still stuck, not really able to do very much, because that Blastoise has such a hefty retreat, and Ross has no way of getting out of this. About the only thing Ross can hope for right now, in my opinion, is that Joe really makes a mistake. I mean, it's already 30 minutes in out of the 90 minutes that this battle's going to take. These two players have 90 minutes to complete 2 out of 3 matches. So Ross is going to Skyla, look through his deck for any 1 trainer card that he would like. He's either going for a catcher, or I don't know what else he would go for. He's going for an N. Because he's thinking that after Joe's next turn, Joe's only going to have 2 prize cards, and only having those 2 prize cards remaining after an N will allow Ross a chance, even if it's a small one, to come back and to be able to play cards. Joe will not have a very large hand after that end. He'll only have 2 or 3 cards in his hand, and he's definitely going for it. We got an Energy Search, which he's going to grab a Darkness Energy out of his deck and attach it to that benched Darkrai. Or he should. I think he's going to attach it to his benched Darkrai. That's what I'd do. Try and get more energy. He's attaching it to his benched Sableye. Okay. Looks like Joe's going to wait 1 more turn before unleashing his wrath. He's really trying to get all of his Pokemon set up correctly before he does anything, or maybe not. He's just going to straight retreat that Sableye and send up the bench Darkrai that he's been building over the last few turns. My guess is that the next thing he's going to do is play that catcher to bring up that benched Black Kyurem and knock that thing out while putting another 30 damage onto the Blastoise. He still has a catcher and a laser in his hand, so yep, there goes the catcher on the benched Black Kyurem. And now he's going to, if it were me, I don't know what else is in his hand. Yep. Attack to knock out the Black Kyurem. Put 30 damage on the benched Blastoise, which will put the Blastoise at 120 damage, and knock out the Black Kyurem. Now Ross has to send up 1 of his own benched Pokemon, and it's probably going to be the Keldeo with 3 energies attached to it. Those 3 energies would give him 110 damage to attack the Darkrai. Plus, on top of that, he's got that N, which is going to drop Joe down to a 3-card hand, and when Joe draws his card for his next turn, 4 cards. So I believe Joe has a he has a pretty decent sized hand at this point. He can do pretty much anything he wants. Ross is debating what he wants to send up. He's going to send up that benched Keldeo. He's going to draw his card, and that end's gonna happen. That end has to happen. I don't think there's any way that he doesn't play the end this turn. The question is, what else? What does he play before the end happens? He's got at least one water energy in his hand. And if it were me, I would attach it to his benched Keldeo, because that active Keldeo probably isn't going to last more than a couple of turns. He attaches the energy to the benched Keldeo, giving it the ability to attack for 110 damage. He still has Blastoise, which is likely going to get knocked out during Joe's next turn, and he's got that end that he pulled back last turn. But he's going to instead use a Skyla, and that Skyla is probably going to get a Pokemon Catcher, which Ross is going to use to get that Garbodor up, and that will. Yep, there's the Catcher. He's holding on to it though. He's slow playing it. He's going to Heavy Ball. Oh, he needs to get a second Blastoise out, like right now. There's the Blastoise. And I'm guessing he has a rare candy from the way he's playing right now. So that Blastoise is going to come down right now. He's going to Catcher the benched Garbodor with a tool attached to it, and knock it out with Keldeo's attack, or at least that's how I would play it. It would allow me at least a 1-turn respite from Garbodor's locking abilities. And there goes the rare candy to get the Blastoise. Catcher up the Garbodor, and that's going to end his turn, knocking out the Garbodor, taking 1 prize, and now Joe sends up his fully powered Darkrai. So now Joe has to find some way to get his final tool out of the deck, which is a Float Stone. Joe plays 5 tools, but he's already used 4 of them. So Joe's instead going to use Ultra Ball to discard 2 cards from his hand, and probably pull nothing, or maybe just the Absol that's left in his deck. He's just right now what Joe's trying to do is just thin out his deck, so that the end that Ross is going to play during his next turn doesn't do as much damage as Ross thinks it will. And he's going to get a Sableye. It's probably going to bench that he's going to bench, or is he going to bench it? Well, he grabbed it at the very least. Does he have a Juniper in his hand? I can't see his hand at all. I wish I could, but I can't. He's looking through his discard pile to try and see what's in there. And he's going to play a Super Rod to get back a Trubbish, a Garbodor, and a Darkness Energy. Those 3 are going to go back into his deck. Super Rod lets you search your discard pile for any 3 in any combination of Pokemon and basic energy and shuffle them into your deck. Now he's going to laser the active Keldeo, so that hopefully what he's hoping for is that he doesn't have a draw card. He's just going to hit the active Keldeo for 100 damage, and he's allowing his opponent his opponent now has the ability. Ross now has the ability to use all of his abilities, and for one turn, that's a lot. That's a huge thing that just happened. So now Ross, looking through his deck, looking through his discard, looking through his hand, looking through his discard pile, trying to find something that he knows will be able to do something to that Darkrai. He now has the ability. He can now use his abilities, and he's probably aware of it. You know, these guys are a lot better players than I ever will be. I just know. I know the basics. I know some of the advanced strategies, but these guys play at a level far beyond what I could ever play at. I mean, come on, Ross has done it all in this game except for winning Worlds, and is he going to rush in? He should rush in at some point. I mean, he needs to okay, he's going to retreat so that he can use his superior energy retrievals and his other energy retrievals to get energy out of his discard pile, and can attach them to other Pokemon that are in play. So I believe he's got a superior energy retrieval. which he's going to use. He's going to discard 2 cards from his hand. He's got an Electric Energy and a Juniper. He's going to get back probably 4 Water Energies. We've still got that end that he grabbed a couple of turns ago. Going to attach 1, 2, 3, 4 Water Energies to his active Keldeo, which will allow his active Keldeo to do enough damage. I believe it does 190 damage to that active Darkrai. Now, he's also going to play an energy retrieval to get back 2 energy cards that he had used previously. That electric energy that he just discarded and a water energy from much earlier in the game. He's going to attach them both to his benched Blastoise. Then he's going to end, giving him a 5-card hand and Joe only a 2-card hand. Joe used up a large portion of his deck in his hand last turn, so that he was well prepared for this end. He knew it's been coming for a few turns. But Ross now has an amazing Pokemon available to him, and Joe only has 2 cards that he can use to counter that. So Ross drew his 5 cards, and he's just going to Secret Sword, 190 damage, knocks out the Darkrai and takes 2 prize cards. Joe's going to send up his own Darkrai, attach a Darkness Energy, Absol, and Juniper. What a 3-card hand. There's the catcher. Pulls up the Keldeo and Dark Spears it for the game. So Joe takes game 1 in a little under 42 minutes. They'll have about 50 minutes, 48 minutes to play and complete the next 2 games in the series. So now, Joe is a 1-game-to-none lead. They will shuffle up their decks, go into game 2, and Ross will get the choice of who gets to go first. After both players have drawn their opening hand and both players have set their initial Pokemon. Between games, you're allowed to do, I believe it's like either 2 or 4 minutes to shuffle your deck. And Ross is doing a pile shuffle. Joe's just going to hand over hand for a while. And they know that they have a ton of time left. So they're just going to, take their time, make sure that they're doing everything correctly. And we're going into game 2. What Joe's hoping for is basically exactly what happened in game 1. That he gets his turn 2 Garbodor, can power lock Ross's Blastoise and Keldeo for as long as he possibly can, while he accumulates knockouts behind 1 or 2 Darkrai's. For Ross, what he needs to hope is that Joe's setup this game is nowhere near as good as it was during the first game. He needs at least 1 turn where he can use all of his abilities to their fullest, and will be able to, so that he can, set up that Black Kyurem, which is really the center piece of his deck. That's the main attacker that he's generally going to use. Although Keldeo in this particular matchup might be the more powerful attacker because it doesn't discard energies when it does attack. So they just drew their 7. Looks like Joe has 1 basic. Ross has 1 basic. Ross is going to set out his prize cards, and Ross is probably going to go first. So they flip over their Pokemon, and we have Squirtle versus Sableye. Ross draws his card, and we begin game 2. Ross is probably looking for one of his 3 tropical beaches or his 4 Skyla that will get him one of the 3 tropical beaches that are in his deck. Ross is really debating what he's trying to do here. Going to attach water energy to that Squirtle so that maybe he can retreat that Squirtle later? Ross really does not have anything. Wow. Draw, attach, pass. Whereas Joe's going to play an energy search to grab a darkness energy out of his deck, and he's going to attach it to that active Sableye. What he's also doing at this point is looking through his deck to see what is in there so that he can use that information for later. Most high-level players have long since memorized their deck. They know every single card that's in there, and they will use that initial draw to figure out what the 6 cards in their prizes are, or use that initial search to figure out the 6 cards in their prizes. So Joe's going to attach that darkness energy to the Sableye, and it looks like he's got something planned. That smells like either a Juniper or an N. And Joe's just gonna... Wow. Not much going on in this game. Neither player starts off with a supporter. Joe just grabs that energy search back, and Ross is kind of stuck. He just drew a Keldeo. And if he has a rare candy Blastoise in his hand, he's got something to work with. But he doesn't. He's just going to attach that energy to Squirtle and hope that his coin flipping abilities work. We just flipped for heads, and I believe Squirtle does 2 for 20 plus 10 on a heads flip. So, going to draw his card. And I see a catcher in his hand. I see 2 catchers in his hand. And an energy search, which gets a darkness energy out of the deck. And right now Joe's kind of stalling for time a little bit. It's not like either player has a particularly strong setup. In fact, both players kind of started off pretty weak in this game. Joe's using Sableye's Confuse Ray to try and confuse that active Keldeo, and Joe's hoping, for his own sake, that Keldeo will start flipping tails. Unfortunately, Joe flipped tails for his own attack, and now it's Ross's turn. Ross just drew his card, and he either doesn't have a supporter, or he has a Juniper, and he doesn't want to discard all the cards that are in his hand. He's going to manually attach to his active Keldeo, and now he's debating what else he's got. He either doesn't have a supporter, or he doesn't want to discard what's in his hand. And Ross just ends his turn. Nothing he can do at this point. So it's Joe's turn. He just drew his card. He's got a bunch of cards in his hand. I can't believe that he doesn't have anything to work with. He's going to attack with Confuse Ray, and that Keldeo is confused. But I'm pretty certain that Ross wasn't intending to attack with that Keldeo from the start. His entire purpose for attaching that energy was just to get enough energies in play in order to retreat Keldeo for that Squirtle. And now for a really strange play, Ross is going to Colress for 1. Colress for that 1 Squirtle that's on his bench, because he only has one bench and Joe has nothing. It's very rare that you see a player Colress for that few cards. Normally, when you see Colress in a deck, it means that that player is playing a deck that loves having a large bench and will save that Colress for a time when, you know, he can use it to its fullest. But in this case, Ross really has nothing going. So he figures, hey, even a second card this turn has got to help me. So he draws his 1 card, hoping for a miracle, and he gets it. Top decks the beach. Lets him draw 7 cards. Lets him draw a new hand of 7, and now Joe gets to go. What a game of top decks, huh? I mean, last game, you know, Ross top decked that Juniper off of a hand of nothing. Then Joe top decks the perfect 3 cards that he needed in order to get out of a situation. Now Ross plays that Colress and top decks Tropical Beach. What a set of top decks. So Joe's still debating what he wants to do. It looks like he's got a bunch of stuff in his hand, and he's debating what he wants to do with it. He's going to play his Verbank, which will get rid of Ross's Tropical Beach. And now he's going to once again just keep poking away. And now that Keldeo, I believe, has 30 damage on it after being attacked 3 times by Confuse Ray. So now Ross has drawn his 8th card, and he should have a good set of options to work with from here. He should be able to do something, anything, to get out of this situation. He's got 8 cards in hand. I mean, there's got to be something in those 8 cards, right? I see an Ultra Ball. I see a Water Energy. There's definitely an Ultra Ball in his hand. But what else he has in there, I don't know. Probably doesn't have a rare candy. And there's a random receiver. Okay. He's looking for a supporter card, and it looks like he just drew an N. And Ross wants to take a look at the cards that that Joe revealed off of that random receiver. And Joe has a lot of cards that he's going to shuffle back in. Yep, playing that N. Both players shuffle in, draw 6. And really look like both players needed that badly. Neither player drawing much of anything this game. I mean, after both players got everything that each player needed last game, neither player is getting much of anything. This is... I apologize to you guys. I really don't have much to say with this. So Joe just played that N, hoping to get anything that'll help him get going. He plays a Sableye, and he's got an Ultra Ball in his hand, which will allow him to get rid of a Verbank and a Dark Patch, and probably search out the Darkrai that he's been missing, because he's probably not grabbing a Trubbish off of this. Just like... Oh, he's grabbing a Trubbish. Wow. Because, I mean, just like with Blastoise, you really do not want to end your turn with only one benched Pokemon. You want to end your turn with both Trubbishes in play, if at all possible, just to prevent your opponent from playing that catcher that will get rid of your Trubbish. And not only did he bench the Trubbish, he attached a tool to it. I'm amazed. So the Keldeo now takes 30 damage. It's at 60. It's poisoned and confused, which means that it's 50-50 to attack this turn if Ross doesn't do anything to get out of this. Ross has a card hand of 7, which means that he probably has a good set of options to do. He just played down a Tropical Beach to get rid of that Burbank City Gym and allow his active Keldeo to live for a few more turns. He also benched another Keldeo, which will allow him to start dancing a little bit more and get rid of all those status conditions that were on his original Keldeo. And each Keldeo is allowed to use their Russian ability once. So now... You know, Ross has just used Russian twice, and now has 3 energies on his Keldeo, and as well he should, knocks out that Sableye. Now we get another random receiver, which will get, I believe that's a Skyla? Joe is really in a bad place right now. He needs to somehow, he needs to get out of this badly. But we know that he has a Dark Patch in his hand, and there's at least one Darkness Energy in the discard pile that he can attach to his bench Sableye. So more than likely, he's going to Catcher Squirtle. Why would you Catcher Squirtle right there, and why not play the Dark Patch to get an energy on the Sableye? Squirtle can just retreat. You know, Ross almost wants that Squirtle to be active. As far as I know, Joe doesn't have any way to knock out that Squirtle this turn, so I don't understand what he's doing with that catcher. I mean, if he wanted to, just played an N, shuffling his hand into his deck, drawing 6, and Ross gets to draw 5. So Joe's got a Darkness Energy. He's attaching to his Sableye. He benches his Darkrai EX. Retreat into the Sableye. He's going to grab 2 trainers out of his discard pile, 2 items out of his discard pile, my mistake. And I couldn't see what those were. It looked like, oh, he hasn't taken anything yet. He's taking a random receiver and an Ultra Ball. It's like he's still having trouble finding all the cards he needs in order to set up correctly. So Ross is going to draw his card, probably going to retreat that Squirtle by discarding the 1 energy, because having the 2 energies on that Squirtle doesn't really do much for him. That Keldeo is going to be taking a prize this turn. It's either going to be off of the Sableye or off of the Trubbish that Joe has had benched for the last couple of turns. And we can see that Ross has an Electric Energy in his hand, which he's going to attach to his benched Keldeo. That's his attachment for the turn. The Squirtle is going to retreat for 1, send up the Keldeo with 3 Water Energy and 60 damage attached to it. And Ross is going to simply attack, knock out the Sableye, and take his second prize card. Joe now has probably 1, if not 2 turns to try and get back into this. He's going to random receiver, finds a Juniper. And Joe needs a lot of things to happen off of this Juniper. Going to play an Ultra Ball to get 2 cards out of his hand, search through his deck. He's going to discard his Tool Scrapper and a Max Potion, and probably going to grab a Sableye out of his deck because he doesn't have one benched. For Darkrai, having Sableye benched is always a good thing, because Sableye lets you get anything out of your discard pile that you would like. But he's getting the Garbodor so that he can shut down his, Ross's abilities. We've got a Floatstone attached to the Darkrai, evolving Trubbish into Garbodor, dropping a catcher on the benched Keldeo, and Juniper. Allows him to draw 7 cards. He's looking for some combination of 1 energy and 2 or 3 Dark Patches, but he gets none of that. He got an energy and a Sableye, and he uses Hypnotoxic Laser to put the Keldeo to sleep and poison it. Now he's going to retreat the Garbodor into Sableye so that he can get some cards out of his discard pile. My guess is that there's a Dark Patch that he can grab that's in there. I see 1 Dark Patch. He's grabbing the Dark Patch, and I see a catcher in his hand, so he's not going to grab one of those. Probably the Dark Patch and maybe a random receiver if he doesn't have a supporter in his hand. Yep, looks like the Dark Patch and the random receiver are what he's looking at. What he's trying to do is set up his next turn correctly. He's got a few Darkness Energies in his discard pile, and those Dark Patches can really help him out. So now he's going to flip, and it looks like that was Tails, and they put the 10 damage on Keldeo. Ross draws his card to start his turn. Now that Keldeo is pretty well stuck there because Joe has a Garbodor with a tool attached to it, which means that Ross can no longer use Keldeo's Rush In to get those status effects off of Keldeo, off of his active Pokemon. So he's going to try and he's going to try and start just using out his hand, trying to get something going. He would like to have that Tool Scrapper, but I don't think he really needs it at this point. What he does need is some way to wake up his active Keldeo, and a way to get it out of the which would get it out of the active position because he just attached another energy to it. The purpose of those energies is to just get... Wow. He discarded an Ultra Ball and a Rare Candy. He apparently didn't want to get his Blastoise up. Why? I'm amazed he didn't want to get his Blastoise up. I mean, yes, he only has 3 of them, but I'm pretty certain he discarded a Squirtle earlier in the game. I mean, that was a weird play. I don't know why he wouldn't go for the Blastoise in that situation. Or any situation, really. Any situation where you can get a Blastoise into play. Maybe he's scared of Joe trying to catch her up that Blastoise and locking it there for a few turns because of Blastoise's monstrous retreat. I'd guess that's the only reason why Ross wouldn't want to play that Rare Candy and that Ultra Ball to get a Blastoise into play. But now Ross looks like he has either his Ultra Ball or his Computer Search in his hand, because it looks like he's debating which cards he wants to discard. He has 3 cards set off to the side. Looks like his Comp Search, discarding a Squirtle and an Electric Energy. I doubt he's going to be playing any Black Curums in this matchup. Black Curum will not help him knock out those Garbodors that Joe is benching all the time. So he's going to use that Computer Search to search his deck for any one card that he would like and put it into his hand. He can put any card that he wants. Doesn't matter what it is. Pokemon, Trainer, Energy, doesn't matter at all. Still searching. I don't even know what I would get at this point. Again, I thought that getting a Blastoise into play would be a positive thing, but apparently Ross doesn't think so. So I doubt that he would go grab that. So he grabs his card, shuffles up his deck. And he's going to catch her up the garbage. Tool Scrapper, both of them. So the goodbye 2 Float Stones, but Joe still has 3 tools remaining in his deck. He still has the 2 Float Stones and the 1 Life Dew. And he's going to rush in with his benched Keldeo and knock out the active Garbodor. So now Ross knows that he will have at least one more turn that he can use his abilities. And that one turn can be gigantic. Joe uses that Dark Patch to get a Darkness Energy out of his discard pile, and then he plays that Random Receiver, looked like to get an N. He's also going to play an Ultra Ball, probably to get the other Trubbish out of his deck. Joe really, really needs to have that Garbodor in play, or else he doesn't really stand a chance in these games. And we are now well into the hour mark. We're at an hour and 4 minutes, which means that I think both players are going to try and play this one out. He gets a Sableye, which probably means that his second Trubbish, either his second Trubbish or his second Garbodor, is prized. And I just saw a Psychic Pokemon. I would guess that that the Trubbish is prized because I'm pretty certain that was a Garbodor that I saw him shuffle. He's playing an N. Both players shuffle their hands into their deck. Joe gets to draw 6, and Ross gets to draw 3. Joe is looking for a Dark Patch that he can use. Dark Patch, a Hypnotoxic Laser, and a Burbank City Gym, so that he can really start attacking Ross's Keldeos. The active Keldeo has 30 damage on it already, and now there's a Dark Patch. There's the third Darkness Energy to the bench Darkrai. So now we're looking for our Laser Bank. Where is our Laser Bank? Does he have a Laser Bank? If he has a Laser Bank, then that 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. He needs Laser Bank and a ooh. I just noticed that he doesn't run any Dark Claws. So he's just going to straight 90-30. The active Keldeo is at, I'm guessing that's 120. And the benched one is, I believe, at 40. Well, it might be more than 120. I honestly can't tell. The picture on my screen is too small. So he's still going. It's into Ross's turn. There's 3 prizes left to Joe's 6. This is game 2, and Joe is ahead 1 game to none. Ross just played his level ball to get a second Squirtle, and he's probably going to evolve his other Squirtle into a Blastoise at some point during this turn. What I believe Ross is going to try and do is get enough energy onto one of his, or he could try and power up a Black Kyurem, one or the other. He could either try and knock it out with Keldeo or with Black Kyurem. And he just played a Juniper, which allows him to get a ton of cards into his hand, get another 7, and he's probably hoping that he gets a Rare Candy, a Blastoise, and a Superior Energy Retrieval, which would allow him to get all the cards that he would need in order to knock out that Darkrai. Black Ballista on that Black Kyurem EX does 200 damage for 4 energy, 1 electric, 1 water, and 2 colorless, I believe. And that does 200 damage to defending Pokemon, and then you have to discard 3 energies attached to the Black Kyurem. Ross is just going to do the 110 off of Keldeo. Joe's drawn his card, and he's going to play out his turn. He's going to catcher the benched Keldeo. I'm guessing that means that the other Keldeo already has 140 or more damage on it. And Joe just played a Juniper and a Darkness Energy onto his Sableye, a Laser which puts the active Keldeo to sleep and poisons it. And I'm guessing that means that Joe has enough damage to knock out the benched Keldeo, take 2 prize cards, and deal 90 damage plus the 10 damage from poison to the active Keldeo. So that means that the benched Keldeo must have had either 140 or 150 damage on it after Joe's previous turn when he attacked with Dark Spear. So now it's Ross's turn. He's going to flip a coin for his sleep, and I believe that was a 4, which will allow him to wake up. Draws his card, and he now has enough energy on that Keldeo in order to knock out the Darkrai. But even if he does knock out that Darkrai, that would only net him 1 prize, because Darkrai has that Life Dew attached to it, which reduces the number of prizes his opponent takes by 1. So Ross is probably going to knock out that Darkrai. And what Joe's going to try and do is get a couple of Dark Patches and his other Darkrai into play so that he can get the damage, so that he can get another Dark Spear going Uh, it's going to Rare Candy into a Blastoise. And right now that active Keldeo does 90 damage because it has 2 water energies attached to it. And Ross is debating where he wants to attach his energies. There's his electric energy for the turn, which is being attached to the Black Kyurem EX. And I don't think Ross has played a supporter yet. It just looks like he's played that candy. So he's going to play a Heavy Ball, which will allow him to search for any Pokemon that has 3 retreat or more. And he can grab either his Black Kyurem or his Blastoise, but he grabs neither one. I think he was just using that to see what was left in his deck. I'm guessing he has a Juniper in his hand that he's going to use to try and get some more cards. And, yep, there goes the Juniper. And he just discarded his final Beach with that Juniper, as well as a Skyla. So he draws out his 7 cards, looking for something that will... well, right now he knows he's going to knock out the Darkrai. He's not going to attack anything other than the Darkrai. So he's still looking for something else that will help him with the Darkrai that's going to be coming down in 2 more turns. There goes an energy retrieval, which will allow him to pull those 2 water energies out, and he's probably going to attach them immediately to that Black Kyurem EX that's on his bench.
I got a spot for you.
Or he's going to instead attach them to the Blastoise. I'm guessing that he's trying to find some way to retreat the Blastoise, or just have something available to attack that will do 70 damage without discarding a lot of energies. Is going to use Secret Sword to knock out Darkrai, but only take the 1 prize because of the life deal. Now, Joe just drew his card, send up his Sableye, and he's going to try and get another Darkrai into play without completely drawing out his deck, because it looks like he doesn't have very much left in his deck to use. He's going to attach a Floatstone so that he's going to attach a Floatstone to his benched Sableye just so that he can get a card out of his hand. He's going to keep try keep drawing things. And okay, that ending his turn, between his attack and the end of his turn, that knocked out the Keldeo. It looked like must have had 150 damage on it, because that's the only way they could have knocked it out. And now it's now we're back to Ross's turn. Ross just sent up that Blastoise, which can right now deal 100 damage to the Sableyes, and Joe is trying. Right now it's down to the battle of the little guys. At least until, you know, Ross gets the energy needed to get that Black Ballista. Going to play an N, so now both players are down to hands of 2. So Ross is just going to knock out the Sableye and hope that Joe doesn't have anything to counter that with. Joe has a Super Rod, which will allow him to get back that Darkrai, a Garbodor, and a Trubbish. Shuffle those back into his deck. I'm pretty certain that at this point that Joe would have a what does he have in his hand? He's got 2 cards. He got a Juniper. So let's start drawing some cards and seeing what Joe gets off of that. There's definitely a Darkness Energy, and I saw something Psychic in there. There's a Trubbish. There's two Trubbish. Why didn't get that second Trubbish earlier? I have no idea. Maybe it wasn't in his deck earlier? There's a Darkrai. Darkness Energy. And Catcher the Black Ballista. That will give Joe at least a couple of turns to try and turn this thing around. It's down to 2 prizes. Joe has 2 prizes remaining, and Ross has only 1. So what Joe is hoping is that Ross doesn't get the 2 energies that he needs in order to knock out his Sableye, while Joe is going to use Sableye's Junk Hunt, probably to get a couple of Dark Patches, either 2 Dark Patches or a Dark Patch and a Laser. So Ross is going to draw his card, play out a Skyla. He's trying to... looks like... okay. Superior Energy Retrieval. To get back the energy, and to get energy onto the Black Kyurem, enough to knock out the active Sableye. So now the game score is 1-1, and there is 1 hour and 16 minutes elapsed in this round. There are 15 minutes remaining, and really neither one of these players is well set up to attack quickly. Though I believe Joe's deck probably has a slight advantage, especially since Joe is likely going to go first during this turn. Once again, during Game 3, during each game of the top cut after the first one, the player that loses the previous game gets to choose who goes first in the next game at the point when you would normally flip a coin to decide who goes first. So the 2 players are going to shuffle up their decks, offer them to their opponents to cut, and they'll draw out 7 cards and their 6 prize cards, and they're going to find whatever Pokemon they need off of those 7 cards to finish this game. This Game 3 will be a 6 prize game, because there's still time remaining in this round. Once time is called, there will be 3 additional turns. So whoever turn it is when time is called will be turn 0, and then there will be 3 additional turns played after that. So the player who finishes off of time will get the final turn of the game, and that is a tremendous advantage in these top 3. Having the final attack. If after those 3 turns the prizes are still tied, we'll keep playing until one player takes 1 prize card. Joe's starting off with that Absol, which for 2 energies does, I believe, 20 damage plus 20 more damage for each Pokemon on the opponent's bench. He also played down a Laser and a Bank, so he's doing 30 damage without attacking, and then he's going to N because he doesn't really want to attack with that Absol. He doesn't want that Absol out at all. He wants that thing gone. He doesn't want to use it. Darkrai is a much more efficient attacker, especially in the early game, and I doubt Ross is going to try and bench too many Pokemon at this point, because mostly because he's scared of Catcher. But even so, he's going to want to have those Squirtles out. So we've got a Laser Bank in play. We have Sableye. And he's probably going to attach a Darkness Energy to it. He has both a Stone and a Life Dew in his hand, but he's going to hold on to both of those. That Life Dew is going to be saved for a point when Joe's going to use it to prevent his opponent from taking a prize. Joe grabs the Laser out of his discard pile with Junk Hunt, and now Ross gets his turn. He's going to bench a second Squirtle, which will completely prevent Joe from knocking out all of Ross's energy acceleration, at least during the first turn of the game. Ross is then going to play an N, probably because it's either the only draw card that's in his hand, or it's or he just doesn't want to play a Juniper because there's too much good stuff there. Either way, it'll allow him to draw a new hand of 6, and it'll also give Joe that new hand of 6. My guess is that Ross is looking for his Tropical Beach, which will draw him more cards, and he's also looking for another Keldeo to get that poison status off of his active Keldeo. He also knows that his opponent isn't about to use a Garbodor anytime soon. His opponent will have 2 turns before that Garbodor comes into play. But now that Keldeo is up to 60 damage, and Joe's going to play an Ultra Ball, discarding a Darkness Energy and a Random Receiver. What that means is that Joe probably has a supporter in hand, and he's going to grab a Trubbish. He's also going to drop some tools down. Only one. I thought he had more than that. Play a Juniper, get that life dew on the active Sableye, because that Sableye is going to be sitting there for a while. He also only wants to attach, if at all possible, he only wants to attach the float stones to the Garbodors, because Garbodor has a massive 3 retreat, and it's very difficult to get those energies onto Garbodor now that Energy Switch is no longer in the format. So Joe's just going to use Junk Hunt to get 2 cards. I believe he got his what is that? Got his Random Receiver and his Ultra Ball out of the discard pile, and Ross takes another 30 damage on that active Keldeo. So now Ross is stuck with an active 90 damage Keldeo, and has 2 Squirtles on the bench and a Black Kyurem, and he just drew his card, attached a Water Energy to the active Keldeo. He also has a Skylo, which is probably going to be for either a Heavy Ball or a Rare Candy. He wants to get he wants to try and get some more energies out into play so that he can knock out any Pokemon that Joe's likely to send up. Either that, or he's going to grab that beach to knock out the Burbank City Gym and stop Keldeo from accumulating a ton of damage. It will also allow Ross to draw a lot more cards. He'll draw probably 3 or 4 cards this turn once he plays that, and once he uses whatever other cards he has in his hand. Looks like he has a hand size of 4. Plays down the Squirtle to get more cards out of his hand. Going to retreat the Keldeo to get rid of the status effect. Is going to sit there with the Black Kyurem active. Now he's going to Beach to draw 4 more cards. And Joe starts his turn, immediately plays that Dark Patch, because he knows that the Absol will do quite a bit of damage right now. Ross has 4 Pokemon in play, 4 Pokemon on his bench, so that Absol, I believe, is going to do 100 damage, which would be enough to knock out any one of the basic Pokemon that Ross has on his bench. It would also be enough to 2-shot any one of the it would be enough to 2-shot the active Black Kyurem. He then uses an Ultra Ball to grab the second Trubbish, and that will allow him easier access to Garbodor, and the Garbodor comes down with a tool attached. Not sure I would have played that quickly unless he had an N. Playing down the Garbodor shuts off his own Darkrai's ability, and that would force him to discard an energy in order to retreat the Sableye. But he needed to play the N in order to draw some more cards. What he's looking for is either a Darkness Energy or a Dark Patch, which will attach an energy from his discard pile to his benched Absol. Both players draw 6. And looks like Joe has the energy, or he has something. He just moved his hand around, saw something on the front. He has a laser. He has a second energy. He has a catcher. That'll be 2 prize cards for Joe off of a single damaging attack during this game. So Joe's going to knock out the Keldeo, take 2 prize cards. And Ross right now does not have any abilities that he can use. I don't know if Ross has that Tool Scrapper in his hand, but again, he only plays one of them. And he also, right now, cannot knock out the Garbodor that's on Joe's bench. He does have 3 Pokemon catchers that he could use if he wanted to get that Garbodor active. But the Garbodor has a Float Stone, which would prevent, which would allow him to retreat immediately. Ross plays a Rare Candy to evolve the active Blastoise, which I think he's using that just to prevent more prize cards from being taken. I don't know why he would do that. He knows that he's power locked. And he also knows that there's very little time, very little time remaining in this match. So he's going to get that Blastoise and hope that off of all the cards that he's about to draw, he's going to get the Tool Scrapper that he needs in order to get rid of the Float Stone that's on the bench to Garbodor, and give him enough to get a knockout, probably on either the Garbodor or the Darkrai EX that's on Joe's bench. But Joe's still sitting there with his Absol powered up, and he's still doing 100 damage. Ross really can't afford to bench anything else, even though I think he would want to try and get another one of his EXs out. But he can wait for that, at least right now. He just drew 6 cards, and he also draws 1 more off of the beach, which ends his turn. So now, Joe's turn, draws his card. And I would think that he would just want the 1 Garbodor sitting there. He does. I'm not sure if he would want to try and attach a tool to the second Garbodor, because then he would have, I believe he would be down to either 1 or no tools remaining, and that wouldn't really be a great help to him. He just played a Skyla, which I believe will be for a Dark Patch to get an energy onto that Darkrai, and allow him to attack with it during his next turn. He's then going to attack the Blastoise for 100 damage. And it's Ross's turn. He draws the 8th card, which means that right now that Tropical Beach is not doing much of anything. He also can't really do much of anything himself because he's ability locked. And that Blastoise's retreat, he can't pay it. Blastoise has a 4 retreat. He can't get it out of there. So what he's going to try and do is attach a lot of energies to that benched Keldeo and try and do it very, very quickly. But he just got rid of the 2 tools. So now he can do whatever the heck he wants. I see a Colress in his hand, which means he's going to draw a lot of cards. He's also got probably a Superior Energy Retrieval. Superior Energy Retrieval, discarding Squirtle and what was that, a Skyla? Get back 2 Water Energies. Well, is he going to discard the Skyla? I mean, I'm hoping Joe allowed him to take that back. We can't tell whether I can't tell whether Joe allowed him to take that back, but well, he took it back to discard a Juniper instead. He's going to take those 2 energies and use Blastoise's Downpour ability to attach them to his benched Keldeo. Next, he's going to play the Skyla. Search his deck for what, a catcher? Maybe he's gonna search for a catcher to make Joe's job a little bit harder. Yep, there's the catcher. He's going to try and make Joe's job harder than it needs to be by probably getting that Garbodor up into the active position and knocking it out. Thus, taking a prize, getting rid of the Garbodor, forcing Joe to have both another Garbodor and a tool in his hand if he wants to turn off Joe's abilities. But that Blastoise has 100 damage on it, and it's going to attach the energy to the benched Darkrai and play a Skyla, probably to find either a tool or an Ultra Ball. Unless that looks like a laser he just put up front. What did he just put up front? I think it was a laser he put up front. He's still debating on what he wants to search. He can look at his hand and his deck alternatively. And they're probably going to call time any second now. I have no idea when time is going to be called, but Joe is going to try and make sure that time is called. I don't know what he's doing. He's playing kind of slowly right now. He would like to try and make sure that time is called on Ross's turn so that Joe will get the final attack. He's going to laser, put damage onto the Keldeo. And then, is he going to retreat and get the knockout on the bench Blastoise? Or is he just going to attack for 100? I don't think he wants to put two prizes at risk right now. So my guess is that he's just going to attack for 100. And now it's Ross's turn. Ross is going to draw his card. And that looked like a Colress. So Ross is going to get to draw an enormous 8 cards off of that Colress. And that'll probably give him everything that he will need to knock out either the Trubbish or the Darkrai. And what a huge card to play right there. We'll see what he gets off of that. What he's hoping for is some combination of catcher, superior energy retrieval, and I think he still needs a lightning energy in order to get that black Kyurem properly powered to knock out the Darkrai. But I don't think he got either the catcher or the energy retrieval. He definitely has lightning energy in his hand. And his active Keldeo has, I think, 110 damage on it. So, if he leaves that Absol alone, Joe's probably going to knock out that Keldeo, or he's going to knock out something. Okay, Joe still has 4 prize cards. Joe still has fewer prize cards remaining than Ross. So, they're really trying to. Ross is really trying to make sure that he has the prize advantage. When time is called after the 3 turns. So Ross is still debating on how exactly he wants to play this. He still can use his abilities because Joe doesn't have a Garbodor in play. And he's got some amount of energy in his hands. He's probably just missing the catcher, is he? He's got a candy to get the second Blastoise up, so the only real way that Joe can stop Blastoise now is by getting another Garbodor and a tool onto the Garbodor. But I doubt that's I'm not sure if that's going to happen. Ross is going to get a knockout this turn. There's no question in my mind. He's going to knock out something. The question is whether he's going to knock out. He's going to retreat into the Black Ballista, attach 1, 2, 3 energies off of Blastoise. And is he going to Black Ballista? I don't see why he would. But he is going to Black Ballista to knock out the Absol. That ties up the prizes. And Joe now is going to send forth his Darkrai EX. Looks like it's turn, 1? So I believe time was called in the middle of Ross's turn. And Joe is Joe is turn 1, coming into the... And Joe just played a tool down onto his Trubbish, which means that he is trying to get that second Garbodor going. And if he does, that means that Ross will really be unable to attack or get his energy in play. I'm really not sure why. Well, he kind of had to. He couldn't afford to lose that Keldeo. That Darkrai was going to come up and knock out the Keldeo no matter what happened. So both players will draw 4 cards off of the end. And looks like Joe whiffed on the Garbodor. So Ross will probably have will probably be able to attach his energy during his turn. He'll also have 5 cards with which to do that. So there's a lot of... So, you know, Ross will have a lot of things to do. But Joe drew into a catcher, which he's going to get 2 prizes off of by knocking out the Keldeo and putting 30 damage onto the Blastoise, putting Blastoise 10 damage away from being knocked out. Blastoise now has 130 damage on it, and it has 140 HP. So Joe is probably only 1 catcher and 1 energy away from taking this game. Ross is going to send up that Black Ballista, that Black Kyurem EX, and he's going to look at Joe's discard pile to see how many catchers and energies he's played, because right now those are the 2 things Ross is probably most concerned about. Or at least those are the 2 things I would be most concerned about. A catcher and an energy would allow Joe to, on his final turn, take a prize with his benched Sableye, and that would be enough to take the 3rd game and propel him into the finals. Wow, still looking through. What is Ross looking for in all of that? I saw that he had a water energy in his hand, but I can't see what else he's got. Thinking the way he's looking through his discard pile, he also has a superior energy retrieval. Well, he plays 4 superiors and 1 regular energy retrieval in his deck. So I would guess that he probably has at least 1 of those in his hand. I know that he definitely has a water energy. There's the superior. He has to discard 2. To discard a beach and an electric energy to get back 4 water energies. It's going to deluge 3 of them onto his active Black Kyurem. He's almost going to have to do that. Deluge probably all 4 of them onto the active Black Kyurem, and then hope that Joe doesn't have a catcher and a darkness energy that he can drop onto his Sableye to knock out the benched Blastoise. I don't know why Ross is even waiting. They both know what the move is. There is no other move. Okay, if Joe's allowed to attack with the Darkrai, the game's over. And if Ross doesn't take 2 prizes off of that Darkrai, this game is over. This is turn 2. Ross has to take 2 prize cards this turn. I think the debate that he's doing right now is whether to attach 3 or 4 of those energies. And he's now looking through Joe's discard pile again. I don't know what he's looking for. He's looking for catchers, and he's looking for maybe Ultra Balls. But I don't see how that would do him any good, because he just needs to attach any and all energies that he can find to that Black Kyurem. That's about the only... That's his best bet. That's the best way that he can hedge against the Garbodor, and then he just has to hope that Joe doesn't have the catcher and the energy. There's 1, 2, 3... Attaches 3 energies to his Black Kyurem, and he's debating probably whether he wants to attach more. I know that he has at least 2 more in his hand. If I were him, I would be attaching those energies to the Black Kyurem. Because if he has a catcher, because if Joe has that catcher, he's bringing up. Yep, there's 5, 6. We are now down to a 1-turn game. Sends up the Trubbish, and Joe needs exactly 2 cards to win, and I think I saw both of them. I think I saw a catcher, and I think I saw a Darkness Energy. Oh, there's an Ultra Ball. He can't discard the Darkness Energy. He has to attach it. I see an Ultra Ball. Going to discard a Scrapper and an Enhanced Hammer. The Enhanced Hammer is there for every matchup except for this one. He figures that he has a good enough matchup with this particular deck because of Garbodor that he doesn't need to run Crushing Hammers in order to get rid of the electric energies. He's going to get a Garbodor to, I don't know, just get something out of his deck, I guess. He probably has a draw card. Going to attach the Darkness to his Sableye, evolve to Garbodor, free retreat into Sableye, and if he doesn't have the catcher, he has to, either way, he has to Confuse Ray. So now the game comes down to a coin flip. First coin flip for the game on Confuse Ray. Black Kyurem is confused. And he takes 10 damage. So, 20. So we're at 50%. Ross needs to flip. Basically, heads. If heads, Ross wins. If tails, the game continues. Coin flips for the game, huh?
Looking good.
Always the debate. So, Ross is just gonna, all he has to do is bite the bullet, flip that coin, and you'll know it immediately. Oh, let's try that again. Gotta keep your coin flips on the table. And Ross flips ahead to take the game. So, Ross wins in the top 4, and he moves on to the finals in the Klaczynski Open. Joe, unfortunately, loses 2 games to 1, and he takes his top 4 position in the Klaczynski Open. Thank you guys for watching, and please comment below. Let me know what I need to improve on in my commentating. This is my first time ever trying this, and you know, you always need to improve in all this. Thanks again, and I hope to see you guys later.